You're ready to grow your business, expand your vision, and conquer your dreams. But how can you do this without crashing and burning? In today's episode, we're unpacking this because it's something that high performers regularly run into. Today, I'm going to give you a few thoughts on how you can build your dreams without burning out. I'm also going to share my personal journey with this and how I've balanced entrepreneurism while prioritizing what I value most in life. Welcome to Wellness for High Performers, where ambitious people discover the path to sustainable wellness that actually feels good so they can build the dream without burning out. I'm your host, Erica Jones. I'm a wellness strategist and entrepreneur, and I help high performers create massive momentum by weaving wellness into their daily life. Well, hey there, high performer. I hope you're having an incredible day so far. If not, I hope that this is a bright spot for you because I want to give you some encouragement today. Chances are you have a big vision for your life that you are steadily working towards day after day. Maybe you're building the business of your dreams, or you're working hard to seal the deal on that new promotion, or maybe your dream is to expand your family and you're working towards that. No matter where your vision lies, whether it's in the boardroom or the living room, high performers have this in common. They have an unusual ability to take on more than the average person while maintaining a high level of excellence. Now, if you identify with that, I'm talking to you. One of the challenges I've experienced over the years is identifying how to expand and grow without pushing past my limits into the dangerous burnout zone. It's a very delicate balance, but one that I know is essential if I'm to live a life that aligns with what I value most: my family, my relationships, my health, my mental bandwidth, and more. So, in this episode, I want to unpack a few ideas that have made it easier for me to do this because the goal is to build the dream and thrive while doing it versus hanging on by a thread and limping through the pangs of exhaustion and overwhelm. Today's episode is going to be a bit more business heavy at the front because for many, that's what's driving the burnout. So I thought it would be important for us to start here. To begin, I want to share that I read a really good book last fall called Time Anxiety by Chris G. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I'll for sure butcher it. So we'll just call him Chris G. This book was transformational for me because it was a deep dive into the concept of time and how we view it. And for many high performers, time is the thing that's always slipping away, and it's a thing that we never have enough of. This perspective naturally places an urgency on nearly everything. Because if I never have enough of something, let's say it's food, then every time I eat, it becomes a point of crisis or urgency because my mindset is that I never have enough. It's the same with time. If we're constantly viewing time as scarce, that we never have enough, then it can make everything seem urgent. I've lived much of my life in the midst of that tension, and maybe you have too. And in the digital age we live in, we're even more prone to feeling this because we can now be reached at every moment through our devices. This is another reason to create distance between yourself and your phone or computer for a portion of every single day. When you break the proximity to the device, always having it within arm's reach, you disrupt the pattern of constantly picking it up. But that's a conversation for another day and one I would like to revisit in great detail at some point. But let's get back to urgency. The feeling of urgency not only greatly increases stress and our mental load, but it's also a huge contributor to burnout. When we're running from one thing to the next with no margin, we're in constant fight or flight, and that's a terrible state to live in. That kind of chronic stress is a silent killer and requires our attention so that we're not unknowingly causing sickness and disease that will inevitably show up at a later time. So, what can we do about the feeling of urgency? Well, here's a few ideas. One of them I already mentioned: limit your proximity to your devices for at least a portion of every day. I like to keep the last 2 hours of the day screen free. I don't check work related communication past 5 or 6 on most days. And if you can't reach me, then I can't be lured into false urgency because let's be honest, most of what's labeled as urgent is not truly urgent. It's urgent for someone else, but not for you. Now, if our team needs to reach me or reach my husband for something that's truly urgent, they have our phone numbers. They can text us or call us, and we will be there to support them. But as far as checking work related communications on my device, that stops past 5 or 6 every day. The second thing you can do about urgency is upgrade how you start your day. I'm a big believer that your morning routine sets the tone for the entire day. If you wake up and you're immediately confronted with quote unquote urgent things, the entire day can tend to feel like a big rush from one thing to the next. It's hard to get into a good vibe when that's the way the morning starts. So, to combat this, pay attention to what you're doing and not doing in the morning. I avoid my phone for at least the first 30 to 45 minutes. I avoid work related communication until after I've gotten dressed and had breakfast because it adds unnecessary tension to my day if I read a stressful email or communication before I've even had a chance to get out of my pajamas. Episode 6 is all about morning routines if you want to check that out. Now, the other thing I recommend is to take an actual lunch break during the day. Get up, walk out of your office, have something to eat, not eating while you're working. I'm talking about a lunch break where you're just enjoying your food. Maybe you call a friend that you've been meaning to catch up with. This is one of my favorite parts of the day because we have lunch as a family at least 3 to 4 days out of the work week. We can do that because we homeschool, so everyone's home. But a simple habit like this, taking a lunch break, is a silent check to that part of your brain that wants to work hard and drive hard all the time. And if you're a high performer, you know what I'm talking about. That achiever drive is real. You can feel like everything is urgent. There's zero time for taking breaks. But when you go against that, when you fight against that and you do take breaks, you're telling that part of you, the achiever side, no, you don't run the show all the time. My well being is important and you need to have a seat right now. You need to put that side of you in check if you feel like it is overrunning your days and creating a lot of urgency for you. So if you do this consistently and for long enough, you can see how much easier it will become over time to create boundaries for your health. Things like walking outside for 5 to 10 minutes in the middle of the workday or taking a stretch break. Those kinds of things will become a lot easier for you. If you felt a ton of tension at the thought of walking outside for 5 minutes during the workday, you probably really need to do that. These kinds of things will become easier the more you create those boundaries, and boundaries help to protect us against burnout. The other problem with viewing time from a lens of urgency is that it can keep us from taking a deeper look at the things that need to change in our lives. It makes it easier to stay in the same patterns and routines because taking a deeper look at what needs to change requires time that a person may already feel like they don't have. And this is where vision can really suffer. You want to think about how you're spending your time and even have a vision for it. But if everything is urgent and your perception is, well, I have no time to do this, you're much more prone to running on a hamster wheel, which ultimately leads to burnout. The other thing is that having a vision for how you're spending your time can actually improve your perception of it. I'll say that one more time. When you have a true vision for how you're spending your time, it can actually improve your perception of time. And I'll show you how. I'm going to talk about this in real life examples so you have context for what I'm sharing. So, I stepped into our doctor coaching business in the summer of 2023 as the COO, the operator. We desperately needed operational support in our company. There were foundational processes that had to be built in order for us to scale and go to that next level. I mostly stepped into that role out of necessity. We had no one else to do it, but fortunately, my skill set totally aligned here. I had built the operations of our company for the first 4 to 5 years when we were getting started. So I had intimate knowledge there. And in general, I love to simplify the complex. I'm a systems and process person. So this worked well because Isaac, my husband, is the operating CEO, and I could take his vision, turn it into a plan, and support our team in the execution. Well, I also homeschool our 4 children who range from 5 to 12 years old. And I've been doing that since 2019. That's something I love. It's something I'm fully committed to. So I would homeschool in the morning and work in our business the second half of the day. And we have childcare help so that I could do that. And this worked really well for a while. But what I found after a year or so, as my role developed as the COO, that this role wasn't a great fit for my personal vision. I was enjoying the work I was doing with the company. It felt very rewarding, but the pace was too much for me to keep up with while maintaining my boundaries and other responsibilities. So, this is where my vision for myself started to expand or evolve. So, rather than seeing myself as the acting COO, I saw myself more as a strategic partner in the business, which would dramatically reduce my day to day involvement in the company, but still allow me to maintain oversight and involvement. It would also create the space for me to have more time to focus on my kids as well as my other passions that I love, such as the Elevate's website, working on my book, and now this podcast. And I wanted to pursue those things while still acting as a pillar of support for my husband and for the company that we built together. So this was an expansion of what I was currently doing at the time. And I arrived at this conclusion when I took the time to examine my day and realize, wow, my day is jam packed with things I don't enjoy. The level of work related communication was insane. Like the number of Slack messages and emails I received, the number of interruptions and distractions because everyone is coming with questions or approvals that they need when you're the operator. That kind of stuff would keep me busy for hours and hours and hours and hours during the day. And that's even with an assistant supporting me. So I never really developed the time and space to do a lot of the deep work that I love, the development of the systems, the development of the processes. That's really where I get fired up and come to life when it comes to this kind of work. I couldn't do a lot of that because I was regularly on emails or in work channels. And I was doing so after working hours because it was needed for me to keep up. So I looked at how I could scale out of the company and create days that were more aligned to my passion, to my desires. I maintained my involvement in the financial operation, but everything else I let go. And some people may say, well, you're not expanding because you were looking to do less in the company. Yes, I was looking to do less in our doctor coaching company so that I could do more in other areas that fuel my interests. But I never would have realized that I needed and wanted to make that change if I hadn't created the opportunity to look at how I was spending my time. And as soon as I did that, my vision for myself started to evolve. So, for you, when's the last time you looked at your time, looked at your life, looked at what you do in a day, and actually thought about whether or not it's working for you? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Maybe you already know where and how you want to grow and expand. Maybe it's launching a new product or creating more space in your schedule so that you have more family time. Sometimes the expansion is not so much adding more and more, but doing less in one area so that you can do more of what you love in another. So, starting with the vision of what do I want my days to look like is a huge part of defining your success. And it informs your time and how you spend it. So, you may be thinking, well, what does this have to do with burnout? Well, a few things. Number one, if you're feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, recreating your vision can help you define what life looks like without feeling that way. And that's essential for actually changing a situation you aren't happy with and avoiding burnout or getting out of burnout if you're like, I'm already there. Number two is you can identify the things that don't excite you or light you up and then work towards filling your days with focusing on what you're passionate about. When you do what you love, burnout subsides. When our days are filled with doing things that drain us, burnout is in full effect. And so, what I realize is that if my days are filled by spending my time on what I love and who I love, then time no longer feels so urgent because I'm maximizing it by investing where the real value is. Now, if you're like, this is a pipe dream, I'm in startup mode and I'm wearing all the hats right now, and there's no space for me to get things off my plate to only do what I love. I totally get that. I can relate to that. And I'll address that in just a few minutes. But to wrap up this section on vision, the bottom line is this: identify your vision. How do you want to spend your time? What fuels you? What activities do you want to fill your days? And this helps you understand what winning looks like. It allows you to invest your time where you find value. It gets you off the burnout hamster wheel. It overall helps to curb the tension, the urgency that you may be feeling around time, and all of this together is a major gut punch to burnout. Once you identify your vision, what becomes abundantly clear is what you do not want to spend your time on. I like reading great books and personal development and writing and deep thinking and creative exploration and thinking of new ideas. I also love creating systems and automations and designing processes that simplify the complex. These things light me up, and I find space to do them in our business wherever I can. Once I became aware of this, I realized that anything outside of these areas were things I needed to outsource in the workday, not only because they don't light me up, but also because they were preventing my ability to expand in the other areas where I did want to invest my time. This made hiring and training, essentially delegating, an essential part of the equation. I was already delegating several tasks and responsibilities, but sometimes if you're delegating, and the current team that you have is not performing at the level necessary for you to increase and expand your capacity, then you need to raise your standards. So, to give context, I went from operating as COO to the head of finance, a smaller role, but a role that I could do really well. And that's still my current role. And I manage a small 3 to 5 man team. In the fall of last year, I decided to do a major overhaul in the finance part of our business where we moved on from folks that weren't performing and we brought in new talent. This was absolutely necessary because I had already created a vision of what I wanted to be spending my time on. And in order to execute that vision, I needed people supporting me that were A players. So in September and October, it was a really crazy time because I was training a new bookkeeping team, a new billing coordinator, an ops assistant, and a new virtual assistant all at the same time. Those 2 months felt like a whirlwind. But once everyone was trained, I quickly started to realize what a great decision that was. And I'll say, don't hire and train that many people all at the same time. It is nuts. Some of it was out of necessity, but I did it. I got through it, but I wouldn't recommend it as a rule of thumb. And so what I didn't realize in that process was how much energy I was wasting from having to hover over my team. When you have C players on your team, people that you can't depend on, you're waiting for the mistakes and issues to show up. So I was having to micromanage, which I absolutely hate. And that was mental bandwidth lost because I was regularly worrying about the quality of the work of these other team members. So once they were out of the picture and the new team was trained, it was a game changer. I stopped feeling so overwhelmed because I had people I could trust to take that baton and run farther and faster than I could. This is a huge aspect of expanding without burning yourself out. You have to find the who's. There's a great book by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy called Who, Not How. And it's all about surrounding yourself with a team that supports you in fulfilling your ultimate vision. Because the reality is, we all have limits, even you, high performer, even me. It's unrealistic to keep adding and adding and adding to the vision without getting extra support because this is where the burnout lives. Finding where my gifts are most needed and supporting the company in those areas where I'm irreplaceable and letting everything else go was huge because then I could outsource the other areas for 25 to 35 bucks an hour and reclaim the bandwidth that those tasks were occupying. I'm not entirely finished with this process either. There's still things that I want and need to delegate or outsource. It takes time. I have to find the right people and have the right processes in place, a foundation, if you will, for them to step into. And then I just pass on that baton. Now, if you're the person in startup mode and you're like, I'm not making any money yet, I can't outsource anything. Even a VA for a few hours a week at $25 an hour can be a massive support. If that's not feasible right now, at least start thinking about what is the first thing you want taken off your plate. This is probably the thing that you dread the most in your workday. So start thinking about that now and start working towards it if you can. The bottom line here is to identify where your contributions to your vision are irreplaceable and then outsource everything else. This will greatly decrease the feelings of burnout when you're not trying to wear all the hats. And as I mentioned before, this doesn't happen overnight. It happens one step at a time. This requires a mindset shift because a lot of entrepreneurs and high performers think that everything has to be done their way. And if they don't do it, then it's not going to be good enough. So that mindset has to shift in order for you to fully step into the beauty. And it's truly a gift, the gift of being able to delegate and outsource. You can outsource almost anything. You can outsource your email inbox to an assistant. You can outsource your grocery shopping to a delivery service. The possibilities are immense. Wherever you can, do so to free up your mental space and protect yourself against burnout. Now, the last thing I'll cover today is the importance of supporting your health as the backbone to everything else. I know this can feel challenging if you're starting from scratch, but your health is the engine behind everything. If you do not have good health, it becomes a huge liability. But when you're in amazing health, it can become one of your strongest assets. So when your health is optimized, you're going to be better at thinking on your feet because your health habits will support your mental clarity. So when you're thrown a curveball in a meeting, instead of freezing or asking to circle back, you'll connect the dots with lightning speed and move that conversation forward with confidence. Your health habit can also fuel greater energy and better sleep. These are two huge factors in how you feel and how you function every day. It's the difference between crashing after lunch or jumping into another highly productive deep work session where you're in flow. Your ability to handle stress and bounce back is also supported by solid health habits. No matter what life throws at you, let's say a deal goes sideways, a client's pushing back, or you have a water leak in your house, a kid is melting down, you don't get hijacked by your emotions. You're grounded. You're choosing to respond instead of react. This is the effect of a body and mind regulated by consistent wellness. Investing in your health also helps you improve your focus and your productivity. So when you sit down to work, you can stay laser focused for longer periods. You're squeezing out every drop of productivity in the time that you have. You are in the zone. You are not checking your phone every 10 minutes or jumping from email to work apps and back again. You're in control of your attention, which helps you stay locked in when it's time to do deep work. You're in the zone. You're not checking your phone every 10 minutes or jumping from email to work apps and back again. You're in control of your attention, which helps you stay locked in when it's time to do deep work. This is your brain on wellness. And ultimately, this is how you expand and thrive as you build your vision instead of burning out. So let's bring it all together. How do you expand your capacity without burning out? Number one is to resist urgency. It sends you into fight or flight, creates chronic stress, and overall diminishes the quality of life you have when you always feel like there's never enough time. Number two is identify your vision. Have a clear understanding of what winning looks like, and where you want to be spending your time. This helps release the mental pressure of time scarcity because you can now take action on filling your days with what you value. And the first step in that process is number three, delegating or outsourcing the things that do not light you up, where you don't want to be spending your time. You remove those things from your plate bit by bit. That frees you to invest that extra time in other areas where you want to expand and grow. Number four, you make wellness the non negotiable backbone to support your life and your vision. Not an optional thing, not a nice to do thing. It becomes top priority. Not only will you feel amazing, but when your health is optimized, it's a competitive advantage, an asset. When it's not, it's a liability. The investment here will pay off for years and years to come and also help to guard you against burnout. This is how I'm planning to expand my capacity in 2026. I'm already looking at other areas to delegate and outsource because my days still include things that I want to move off my plate. The ultimate goal is to get as close to 100% of my time being spent on high value activities. But one thing at a time, as long as progress is being made, I am moving in the right direction, and so are you. If you need a place to start with your health, I invite you to check out my Wellness Without Limits audio challenge. It's a simple 7-day audio program that helps you lay the foundation for the most important non negotiable health habits in just 10 minutes a day. There's no fluff. And by the end of it, you'll shortcut your way to greater energy and productivity while laying a solid foundation for your health. You can find the link in the show notes. Well, thanks for listening to Wellness for High Performers. If this episode helped you, please take a moment to share it with a friend or a colleague, or leave me a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Keep protecting your energy, keep honoring your well being, and I'll see you in the next episode. For deeper conversations like this, join me at elevays.com. That's ELEVAYS.com, and get on the list for my weekly newsletter, The Elite Edge. It's where I share insights you won't find anywhere else. I'll see you in the next episode, but until then, make time for what matters.